Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bravo Tea with a Stay at Home Mom. I'm Erica, and I'm ready to talk all things Bravo. Welcome back, everybody. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend and that you guys caught my bonus episode that I did of Summer House finale. I felt that needed its own episode just to close out the season with the whole Carl and Lindsay. So now I just have one whole episode dedicated to New Jersey. And I feel like this deserves its own episode because, as I said at the end of my bonus episode, I did a little Bravo tea, and we had just found out that there is not going to be a reunion for our ladies in the Garden State. It was canceled by Bravo. So they have said that usually reunions are for resolution and that there is so much divide in the cast that Bravo felt it would just waste their time and everyone else's time to have a reunion. I smell and call bullshit on that because there are like many reunions that a lot of people are upset and leave upset, or they go into it okay and leave upset. So reunions don't always mean resolution to me. They mean talking about the season. And then if there is resolution, so be it. But usually sometimes people walk away mad. Like Tom and Ariana were not going to have resolution. If the Valley had a reunion, which it's not, they're Jesse and Michelle aren't gonna get, like, back together, or Brittany and Jax. Um, Teresa and Melissa walked away last year with like, we knew there wasn't gonna be a resolution because they basically weren't talking to each other before the reunion. Um, I feel like people are refusing to film with each other, and that's why there's not gonna be a reunion. I'm gonna, like, do a little more digging, but it was in People, and that's all it said of why there's not gonna be a reunion, but I don't really believe that for 2 seconds. Um, Before we start recapping, I am just gonna say I think something has to give. Someone's gonna have to get fired, and honestly, I know Teresa started the show, she's an OG. Um, I feel like they're gonna have to get rid of Teresa, and maybe what they'll do to, like, soften the blow is they'll give her a spinoff with the daughters, because as you see her too film, like, group scenes with people, she's so pissed to be there. So it's like Melissa isn't ever angry or annoyed that she has to film. Of course, she rolls her eyes and stuff at Teresa when they have to be together, which we'll talk at the end of the episode because everyone was together. She's just like happy though, still. Like Teresa is angry at everyone. She doesn't have any friends, I feel like, on the show except Jennifer Aiden. And like I always say, Dolo is like, I almost don't count her because she's friends with both sides. So if you're gonna say one just sided friend is Jennifer Aiden pretty much, and I think she's even getting tired of just being on the one side because she doesn't probably wanna get fired. But Teresa's almost pushing the show away, and I don't know. It's gonna be interesting how they're gonna move forward, but I'm sure people are irritated that there's not gonna be a reunion either because you get paid based on how many episodes there are. So I said that before also, but I'll repeat it. If let's say there was a 3-part reunion, that's 3 extra episodes you're not gonna get paid for. And people like a Rachel or Danielle that I know get paid less because they've been there. This is only their 2nd season. They're probably mad. And it's almost like at this point, Teresa's ruining it for everyone by her grumpiness and, like, hating everyone and probably refusing to film with people, and it doesn't help that Cuckoo Louie was, like, private investigating everyone, and there was cease and desist last season, and just crazy stuff, which we know is brought on because of him because that never happened back in the day. So, let's just jump into the recap, but that's just my 2 cents, and then, like I said, we'll, like, touch on it more at the end because that's when everyone came together. So we got Dolo whipping in the Rolls Royce convertible. She has moved on up since the Patterson days, baby, and she is having a little old family dinner with just the OG gang. It's just gonna be her, Frank, and the kids, and Dolores is just saying that her and Paulie are looking for a house because she said she doesn't really want to live in a townhouse. So Paulie's townhouse is beautiful, but it's also like I can tell it's just like a man pad. So, and she's moving into his house. And then, like she said, she kind of misses having a house and like the backyard in her house because before she met Paulie, that's when she was doing the intense renovations. Like, remember back in the day with Siggy, she did remodel the kitchen and gave the house like a facelift kind of. Um, but now she really totally gutted the house, which I hope we do get to see like the inside. They just kind of showed like a glance of the backyard because Gabrielle and Frankie are living in it, the two kids, and the like six dogs. So we saw the backyard. She put in like a nice pool, and I'd love to see the kitchen because I know she kind of like made the dining room part of the kitchen. So I would like to see that. And I feel like she totally redid that like old fireplace. And uh, I'm sure the house is beautiful, but like obviously she wouldn't kick the kids out and move back in there. And Paulie wouldn't want to move in there because that was her and Frank's house. So she said that they're looking for a house, but she's like, as you know, housing market is not ideal right now. And then Frank is just explaining to everyone how he's going to propose to Brittany. So he orders himself a green apple martini, as Frank always does. And he pulls the ring just out of his pocket and he's like, "Can I practice on you, Dolores?" And I'm like, oh my God, this has to be so awkward. And I'm just going to be mean for a second. I just caught a quick glance at the ring. It was looked very ugly to me. Very, I don't know. Frank, like, not to be mean, he is just like that. He is still like chintzy, like Jersey Shore type. Like I said in the past episode, he had like a bedazzled, like rhinestone skull t-shirt that I feel like he was just gonna go to Club Karma back in the day with the Jersey Shore cast. I feel like that ring was just like not my style, not my jam. But I feel like him and Brittany are like stuck in that like past like look of the Jersey Shore, like the really like gaudy over the top, like going to the Jersey Shore, bitch era. And he gets down on like one knee for a second, pretends to propose to Dolores, and people are looking around at the restaurant and they're like, "Oh, that's so nice." And Dolores is like, "Oh no, no, this is for somebody else, and this is actually my ex-husband. I'm the ex-wife." Everyone's probably like, "Okay, this is weird. That's probably why you guys have cameras on you." Like, if people don't know who they are and that they're on the Real Housewives, they're definitely like, "This is why there are cameras filming you guys because that is so weird." But then we see Rachel, Melissa, and Danielle meet up with all their sons to go karting. So Melissa is bringing the older one, Gino, because he's friends with John Fuda and Rachel Fuda's son. Now I can officially say her son because she formally adopted him. So she is technically his mom. And it's nice. They're like meeting up with Danielle because her son is younger, but she's like, "One day this is gonna be your son, and get ready, they're gonna be grumpy and not let you touch them." Like, Melissa's like, "Yeah, he doesn't let me touch him or hug him, show any affection." But, it's nice that Rachel and Melissa's sons are close, and Rachel said that's how she met Melissa, so that was interesting. So I guess that's kinda like how she got on the show was through Melissa, which we did know that. But Danielle is just, they do the whole go-karting thing, and then, of course, they film an alone scene and, like, shit talk, as they always have to. So she was just telling them that she's not talking to her dad anymore, and he didn't come to her son's first Holy Communion, and Melissa's like, "I get it, but I wish that I had my dad," because she lost her dad at a very young age, and she's like, "Sometimes you just need to let your guard down and just, they're your parents." So I do understand Danielle's point, but obviously I totally understand and agree with Melissa. Like, what if something happened to your dad tomorrow? Like, just have a separate relationship with him. I think Danielle just gets upset though, because she's probably almost looking to her dad to help repair the relationship with her brother because she did send a gift to the baby and they sent it back. So she is doing the olive branch reaching and he is not having it. So therefore, Danielle is probably like to the dad, you need to help me because I am extending and trying to make it better and he's not and he's shutting it down. So you should intervene and say, your sister is really trying and blah, 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 blah. But still, I feel like we still don't have the whole story, and I'm telling you, they would be the new Joe and Teresa and Melissa if for some reason all of them were fired. Like, we would have to hunt down Danielle's brother. He probably wouldn't wanna be on the show, but would definitely make for an interesting new, like, anti-family dynamic because I feel like besides Beverly Hills, because, like, the Hilton sisters, but they were never really full-time cast members, we've never really had, like, family on fighting. It's always friends just fighting. So, Jersey has always just revolved around, like, family pretty much fighting. So I could see Danielle and her brother, like, getting to be the new Teresa and Joe, which would be interesting. But then we pivot to the only 2 on their deserted island all together, Jennifer and Teresa. So they're going into Bill Aiden's office for a little facial, and they decide to call Jackie during this because, as we know and see, Jackie is starting to shift sides. So, very interesting. And they're, of course, calling to kind of like shit talk on Margaret. So then we pivot real quick. We're like pivoting back and forth between scenes. So we see Margaret sitting down with her mom and husband to shit talk about Jackie. And Marge Sr. cannot get up off the couch. They have to come to her because she had surgery for like something related to her esophagus. And I'm like, oh my God, we need to hunt down Anna Marie from Beverly Hills and get her on the case so she could totally explain to us all about the esophagus and how it works. Um, but Margaret is, just saying that Jackie has totally changed and that she can't even believe at the baseball game she was insinuating and saying that Margaret is, like, not having her back. She's like, "Why do you never have my back?" And Margaret's like, "Literally for the past 3 years I've had your back, so how dare you say that?" And she said when she mentioned to Jackie, on the year anniversary of Jan's death, her ex-husband, "You didn't even call." And then she's like, "How am I supposed to know it's the anniversary of his death and you didn't post it on Facebook?" Not nice, Jackie. I mean, it's not Margaret's job to remind you of something like that in her life. I know we all have lives and we all have stuff going on, but your close friends should know and remember things like that in your life. And she's like, "Other people remembered, and I didn't have to post about it on Facebook. So it's funny you couldn't remember." So I'm just really pretty shocked how Jackie has been treating all of them. That's why I feel like there is underlying things we like don't really know about because she really didn't like Jennifer and Teresa. And now all of a sudden it's like she's snipping at Margaret when Margaret and Melissa always were by Jackie's side. Like Melissa even went to extents of going against her sister-in-law, which we know is never a good topic for her, just to support Jackie because she felt it wasn't fair. Like Melissa always did do a good job of being like, "I know your family and I do love you, Teresa, but you are doing something that's not very nice. So I'm not going to co-sign on it." And Teresa's like, "Oh, well, why aren't you loyal to me?" Always to Joe and Melissa. But then when like someone like Jennifer Aiden is calling Joe a little bitch boy, Teresa's like, "Yeah, well, you are Joe." It's like, well, that's why they maybe sometimes don't care to have your back because I'm sorry, she's never had their back. But we'll talk about that more later. Um, but then we see, yeah, Teresa and Jennifer calling Jackie, and Jackie's like, "I know what they're trying to do." In her confessional, she's like, they want me to like shit talk Margaret. And she's like, "But it at least does feel good to feel heard and understood by them." And it's like, I don't really know if they care about you being heard and understood. They're just glad that you hate Margaret. So don't you get that? Like, always thought Jackie was smarter than this. That's why I'm really surprised she decided to jump on their bandwagon. And like, let's just hypothetically say Teresa and maybe Jennifer would, or just at least Teresa gets fired. You've cut ties basically with Melissa and Margaret. So that's really stupid if you're hanging on to Teresa thinking that's smart move for you to get back on the show if she would get fired because she doesn't really have any friends on the show. And like I said, she's the highest paid. So I feel like Bravo would be like, "You know what? You're the highest paid. You refuse to film with anyone. You don't like you look miserable all the time. And your husband is annoying and getting private investigators and sending cease and desist. And everyone's irritated by that. So you got to go." Then Jackie will be going too. But Jackie was like, "I'm going to form my own opinions and I don't wanna be around people that aren't gonna uplift me, and Teresa's, like, shaking her head, like, agreeing with her, "Yeah." And then after they talked to her on the phone, Teresa's like, "See, that was nice. I'm gonna refollow her on Instagram." And then she goes on her Instagram, and she's like, "Oh, follow." And then she went, "I'm even gonna like some of her pictures." She's like, "Oh, but not that one because Margaret's in it." I was like, "Oh my god," it was funny. I'm actually surprised she didn't have, like, Jackie blocked, but it is funny, like, how petty, like, you're not following Jackie on Instagram, and it's been a while, so it's like it's just crazy. Um, Margaret is just saying, though, how she just can't get over, like, how Jackie is behaving like this, and her mom and Joe were stunned when she said that she wanted to be reminded of the anniversary of her ex-husband, but that is so stupid. So then we have Teresa going over to Danielle's house. And that's what I mean also. Like Teresa sometimes is so unnatural. Like the only time she's natural alone with someone is like Jennifer Aiden because she's so close with her and we see that they hang out a ton outside of the show. But eh, her going over to Danielle's house even looks awkward, and she likes Danielle right now, and Danielle likes her. But it's just like, this is so unnatural. Like, it doesn't seem like you would just stop by and hang out at her house. I can tell. So Danielle's just showing her clothes for the bougie kids fashion show thing. I don't mind Danielle on the show, but sometimes she's just so over the top and annoying. So Teresa brings like tequila over 'cause she's, like, sponsored by Dano's Tequila. I tried it, the one that's already, like, pre-flavored with pineapple and jalapeno. It's so gross, it's bad, sorry. Like, maybe she brought the plain one over, so maybe that one's okay, but I don't know. I did not like the pre-flavored. It was like something you drink in, like, college probably because it's just, like, artificially flavored. It says it's natural, but I don't think so. I don't know. It was gross. I would just infuse it myself at home, honestly. But they take a shot because Danielle's like, "No, I need a shot." She had no limes, so they take shots and then they, like, lick salt, and then she's like, "Oh, are you just sipping it?" And Teresa's like, thinking like, "Yeah, bitch, it's the middle of the day. It's probably like a freaking Tuesday afternoon." She's like, "I'm not, like, pounding plain tequila that you can't even give me a lime slice in this kitchen." She's looking at the clothes and she's like, "Oh, these are good. They're basics." She said basics, meaning, like, they're something that's gonna last forever and good to always have, and everyone will want, and it appeals to everyone, and then the over the topness comes. Danielle, like, lays on her floor. She's trying to have that Siggy moment. Like, remember when she was like, that's all I wanted," when she laid on the floor? Like, Danielle's like, "No, basic, don't say basic." It's like, yeah, we know nothing's basic in your life. Like, Danielle's house sometimes gives me, like, agita looking around because 'cause I'm like, "There's so many patterns, there's so many things." There's just, like, lots of I feel like she likes tchotchkes. Her confessional outfits are awful, like that white one. It's like she has, like, a bridal gown on and then this, like, weird neck shoulder piece with, like, beads. It's so weird. It's so bad. Um, the bougie kids line, honestly, is pretty tacky as well. And I feel like, back in the day, people in Jersey used to I'm sure some people still do. They did, like, the over the top, like, tacky stuff with, like, 100 accessories and, like, ball gowns for, like, the school, and like Teresa used to do that with her kids and Melissa dressed Antonia like that, but I feel like that's not really like in the style now, like less is more kind of. But I'm sure there are still some people that do the crazy over the top stuff for the kids, which is what Danielle is appealing to. And she's in the right place. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be still in Jersey. But Teresa's like, "No, it's not a bad thing. Like I used to be a buyer for Macy's," which I still cannot wrap my brain around because she is not the sharpest tool in the shed. And being a buyer for a company, let alone a big company like Macy's, is a lot of math. I went to school for fashion merchandising and I had to take statistics and I had to do like retail math. That was really hard. Like, so I can't even believe Teresa did that in real life. And she then said, like in her confessional, that she went to college. I didn't even really know or remember that she went to college. And she said she went for fashion. And I was just like, it's also out of like the whole cast. It's like mean to say, like, besides Danielle, I think I would give worse dress to Danielle. But I don't think Teresa has a good sense of style. I think back in the day, she always looked good. But nowadays, sometimes I'm like, what are you wearing? You look so weird. Or it just is like, not looking good on you, or it's just like boardwalk. Like, remember, I feel like she said that about Melissa one time. She said, like, "Where did Melissa get that? The Jersey Shore boardwalk?" And it's like, Teresa did have better style than Melissa back then, but now it's like, "Girl, it looks like you're wearing shit from the boardwalk sometimes." Like, when she went on Watch What Happens Live last year, she wore this weird, like, one piece, like, it was, like, tight, so I can't even call it, like, a jumpsuit because it was, like, tight. It was just, like, a one-piece tight outfit, and it was, like, from Amazon, and it really did look like you got it on the Jersey Shore boardwalk. It was just, like, tacky and bad, and I'm like, "This is who someone's styling you for Watch What Happens Live?" Like, someone probably is styling her, but then that's when she said, like, she has such a background in fashion. It's like, "Why do you look so bad?" And Kim D has said, like, "Teresa always looked the best when I styled her from Posh." And that's why Teresa did look good and have good outfits back then. Like, now her and Kim D are friends again. Like, we need to get Kim on the case to, like, dress her, please, because she's just the things that she wears sometimes. Like, what she wore over to Danielle's house was fine, but even the top, I was just like, probably not." But Danielle is just saying that she's gonna host a bougie brunch and invite all the ladies, and she told Teresa, like, "I'm inviting everybody, but, like, Jen Fessler and Margaret can't come," and Teresa's like, "Good." But Melissa is coming, and then in the confessional, Danielle says, "Teresa doesn't need to know that I invited Melissa for New York Fashion Week, and she's gonna come," but she's like, I invited her because she's been a big supporter for Bougie Kids. She let me do a pop-up in Envy, and this is what, like, is hard. Like, not only is keeping both Melissa and Teresa on the show, it makes people feel awkward if they wanna be friends with both of them. So it's like, we cannot continue to do this. Like, I don't know. I just if I had to, like, gun to head, say if it was Teresa or Melissa on the chopping block, I honestly would actually say Teresa, just because she can't get along with anyone but, like, one person and, like, half of Dolores, because Dolores's other half is with Melissa. So, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, but, then we have Melissa and Jen Fessler meeting over at Margaret's house for lunch. Oh, no, wait. We have Melissa and Jennifer Aiden, I'm sorry, first meeting for lunch. I skipped ahead, I'm sorry, because then later she goes to lunch. And it's so hard that there's 2 Jennifers. Like, that's why I wanna say Jennifer Aiden and Jen Fessler, because I feel like people more say Jen Fessler, and people really don't call Jennifer Aiden Jen, I feel like. But Melissa and Jennifer Aiden meet up at this cute place for lunch. I feel like it's been on the show before and/or they have all posted from it, and it looks so cute. But they immediately start talking about the rumor from last season because Melissa is like heading into lunch is like, all right, let's try this for the 100th time, because they like do meet for lunch and they try to usually move forward. But then it's like always hard because Jennifer Aiden is so close to Teresa. And I feel like she's scared to piss Teresa off if she wants to be copacetic. And she's never going to be best friends with Melissa, especially because she is best friends with Teresa. But there we go again. It's like you're making, like, Jennifer feel underlyingly, because Teresa will always do that. "I'm not gonna be mad at you, like, you can be friends with her if you want," but it's like, you are gonna be mad at me, and I know you are, so that's why I don't wanna be friends with her, but then it's hard to film a show if I can't talk to someone that's on the show. And Melissa was just like, "I don't understand why you decided to give it, like, you know, airtime." She basically can't say, "I don't know why you decided to talk about it on the show." She can't break the fourth wall like that, but she's basically trying to say, "I don't know why you wanted to bring it on the show when you already knew that, like, Teresa met with Joe and knew all this, and everyone did all that behind Melissa's back," which is so terrible. Like, what Teresa doesn't understand is, like, okay, if you wanna talk about this stupid thing that I can't believe you even think Melissa's making out in the car with some dude, it's like, here we go again, you always think she's cheating on Joe. Um, Call her over to the house too. Like, why do you think your brother isn't gonna go home to his wife? It's like Teresa thinks Joe has more alliance to her, but then, like, when it would come to her and Joe Giudice back in the day, she'd be like, "Oh, well, Joe, I have an alliance to my husband. That's my husband." It's like, well, vice versa. Like, Joe has an alliance with his wife. Like, why do you think he's going to pick your side over his wife's side? And why would you want that to happen? It's just very weird. But they want to agree to move forward. But before that, it was funny. Like, Melissa's like, "You always have like a hard on for my husband. I don't know why." And Jennifer's like, "Trust me, I don't got no hard on. It's a limp dick with your husband." It's like, she's like, "I think he's an asshole." And then Melissa's like, "I don't know why you think I'm going to like sit here and agree with you that my husband's an asshole." And then she's like, you know, we don't have to be best friends, but I'd like to move forward. And that's what I mean. Melissa isn't stupid. She doesn't want everyone to hate her. So that's why she even wants to, I feel like, kind of make up with her to be like, look, I talked to everybody on this cast but Teresa. Cause that's what I mean. I really do think she's trying to do that. And that's why Rachel and Margaret are really trying to be like, yeah, we don't want to talk to Teresa. And then that's why they're getting mad at Jackie for wanting to talk to Teresa. She's like, no, we need to send her on her island all alone. So it's like, look, she refuses to talk to anybody. And Jennifer Aiden is even talking to us too. But then we have Melissa meeting Jen Fessler and Margaret at Margaret's house for lunch. And when they go into Margaret's kitchen, she has a nice little spread. And Margaret's kitchen does look beautiful because we remember how old and outdated her house was. So it does look beautiful. And we're glad that Joe finally did the renovations. But the one negative comment I have to say is the tile on her floor and all the granite countertops and backsplash and the wallpaper, it's too loud. It's too much. Like, what I would have done is different floor because it doesn't even go. It's just like so loud. And I love the granite, and I love the granite as the backsplash. That looks gorgeous. Have a more plain floor, and then have the granite be the focal point. But instead, she's got like crazy wallpaper and crazy floor and crazy granite. And I know Margaret is kind of like, her house is like a little eccentric. Like, she has kind of like Masoni style looking like wallpaper in the living room, and they got like, crazy like couch pattern and stuff, but it's like it's too much in the kitchen. It's like hurting my eyes when I go in there when they film scenes. But the lunch looks lovely, and having a little rosé, and she's just saying that she thinks that her marriage was actually better when Jan was alive. And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of awkward." Especially considering she like left and cheated on Jan with Joe, and I'm sure that always had to be very devastating and awkward for Jan to then have Joe around forever. And I feel like that's why, the kids don't talk to Margaret, but Margaret does have a biological son. But then the other children of Jan's do not talk to Margaret. And Margaret is always hurt by that because Jan was married before Margaret. So it's, like her stepkids, but she said she, did a big part in raising them, and then when she did that, they probably felt very betrayed by Margaret. So not only were they hurting Jan, but the kids too. And she just said that, it's no one's gonna love your child like the biological dad, so anything that, like, relates to him, I would always talk to Jan about, and it's just put a lot of strain kind of on our marriage, and, Joe just doesn't even know what to do with me because some days I'm just, like, sad and, like, a mess and whatever, and then Jen Fessler's like, "Are you reflecting back on leaving him?" Meaning, like, do you think it's a mistake that you left Jan and you wish you stayed with him all these years and not leave him for Joe the plumber who was doing the work in your house? Because that's how she also left him too. Like, how just kinda terrible. Like, obviously, it was worth it because look at the long life that Margaret and Joe have had, and I do feel like I feel like he, of all people, is a little bitch boy. Like, it was funny Jennifer Aiden's calling Joe Gorga a bitch boy. It's like, no, I think Joe Benigno is a little bit of a bitch boy to Margaret, but they do seem to be in love and their dynamic works. I do think she's kinda like wears the pants and is the boss in that house, but maybe he likes that. I don't know. But Margaret's like, "No, no, it's just, I've just been a mess and whatever." And then, Margaret is asking, Melissa how her lunch was with Jennifer Aiden. And then she's just telling them about all that. And then she's like, yeah, and can you just believe Jackie these days? She's like, a see you next Tuesday. And I was like, oh my God. Like I could tell that that's what she said when they bleeped it out. And I wonder if it wouldn't be bleeped out on Peacock because that is a pretty vulgar word because it's uncensored on Peacock, but I wonder if they would leave that in. I need to actually watch it just to see on purpose. But she's like, "I have always had her back and always defended her, and, like, honestly, I'm just done with her, and I can't even believe she wants to hang around Teresa and Jennifer Aiden because they have never had her back, and she never liked them." And it's probably like this is the funny part, I bet Margaret, Melissa, and Jackie did so much shit talking about Teresa and Jennifer Aiden, and it's like, now you wanna be friends with them? Like, the dirt that Margaret and Melissa probably have on Jackie talking about them is wild, and that's probably why she's like, this is just like you're so two-faced and fake that now you're jumping on their bandwagon and you're gonna hate us all of a sudden for no reason. So I do Margaret sometimes is not my favorite, but I do have to side with Margaret on this one of like, this is so weird. And I did feel bad for her that Jackie's supposed to be a close friend and she can't even like think about her on the day of Jan's anniversary. The first year, too. We're not talking about 10 years from now where it's like, okay, maybe I can understand and see why you've a, forgotten, or B, like, maybe don't make it a point after 10 years to be like, "Sorry about your ex-husband's death, thinking about you today." But if you're that close of friends, you should text her every year and remember. And it's just a year. That's what I mean. Like, you should remember. Um, but so then Melissa's just like, "Yeah, Jennifer and I left it where, we wanna be at least copacetic," and she's like, "But, she was saying, she has a limp dick for my husband," and she was doing, like, a really funny imitation of, Jennifer Aiden, because remember, Jennifer Aiden's always like, "Oh, it's not mean if I'm just, like, doing an impersonation," and, Melissa did actually a really good impersonation, and Jen Fessler was like, "That was pretty good." She's like, Usually Jennifer Aiden's the queen of impersonations, but that was a pretty good one," and it was. I feel like she wasn't being mean, though, because she really just literally verbatim imitated her, and, then we get all the ladies meeting up for the bougie brunch, and I'm like, yes, everybody is sitting down and filming this together. This is going to be awkward and weird. And as soon as everyone sits down, it's like Melissa and Teresa aren't across from each other, but Melissa's kind of like in the middle of the table and Teresa's on the end. So they're close enough. Like I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they didn't put them at polar opposite ends. But it's because we got the two half-ass friends of people that they say they're like Danielle's friends, but I'm like, listen, if we're gonna bring any friends of on this show at this point, which like I don't want and I don't care because we just got Rachel and Danielle last year. So it's like, can we breathe with new people for a minute? Like I hate when they always have to shove new people every season down our throat because it's like, I don't care and I don't want it. It's like I'm just getting used to Rachel and Danielle being there. I don't want two of Danielle's friends. Like let's bring two of Dolores's friends or Melissa's friends or Jennifer Aiden's, like even Teresa's. It's like literally anyone but like a newbie. And I'm sorry, the one, no. Like, I'm just going to be mean for a minute. Like, her teeth, mouth, lip happening. I don't know what's happening. She's the one that has the attractive husband, though, that's named Dante, which, fun fact, if my husband and I were ever gonna have a son, but we are not, we are just blessed with 2 daughters. I'm just like a girl mom like Teresa. We're not having a third baby over here. Our boy name was gonna be Dante. It was gonna be Dante Michael because my husband's name is Mike, so that was gonna be the middle name, but I did see that the new friend of ish, because I feel like they don't even film either, so they're really not even friends of. Um, her husband's name is Dante, so I was like, "Oh, hey, look, there's a Dante." But I feel like Jackie at this point needs to just still be the friend of because it's like, I don't know who these 2 people are, and Jackie has been in more scenes and talked more than these 2 twiddledinks, so it's like no one wants Danielle's friends here. But they did pipe up. They each got their 1 sentence in for, them being on the show because my husband was even like, "Oh, look, they each talked. Are they supposed to say something?" You think they, like, dedicated having them 2 sentences. I was like, "I guess, but that's all they get because no one cares." Like, we want everyone else to fight and talk. But Danielle pretty much immediately, once everyone sits down, wants to talk about the little dog party and Lena being there. So that was the hairdresser that did the hair for Danielle that shit talked Danielle. So Danielle's like, yeah, like, I don't know why you kind of brought someone in your house to talk about me and I'm your friend and you don't have my back. And I have to agree with that. And it gave me flashbacks, I'm telling you, of back in the day. Cause she pointed the finger at Jennifer and Teresa. And Teresa's like, oh, don't look at me. Like I wasn't saying anything. She was just talking. And it's like, that's what Teresa used to do when it used to be like people would just magically appear out of thin air and say that Melissa was a stripper. And Teresa would always say to Melissa and her brother, like, I didn't say it. I can't control what these people say. And it's like, yeah, but they're supposed to be your friends or you're like bringing them on the show on camera. Like, it's so wild. And all these people have come out and said, like Penny, um, Jan, remember Jan, like Melissa's old friend that used to actually be, she was her bridesmaid in her wedding. They all said that Teresa did ask them to come on the show. So that's mean. It's like you're purposely making them come on the show to say that your sister-in-law was a stripper just so your hands are clean and you can say, oh, Melissa, I didn't call you a stripper. It's like, yeah, but you like made this person come on the show and call me a stripper. So it's like you're guilty by association. So I was getting flashbacks of that when Danielle's like, yeah, but you're like letting this hairdresser sit there and talk about me. Like, as soon as she's talking bad about me, you should have been like, well, Danielle's my friend. So I don't know. Like, and then they were like, yeah, well, we don't know what you told her, like, basically they wanted to say off camera, but the charity thing wasn't filmed, but they were like, I mean, they were saying that she was supposed to be in the VIP and like be with you and that you wouldn't let her in. And then Danielle was like, got like a little diva moment. She's like, no, she's not supposed to be in the VIP. Like, who is she? Who even is she? And it's like, her name's Lena and she's a hairdresser and you called her specifically to do your hair. So what do you mean, who is she? She shouldn't be in the VIP. Like, you're this big celebrity, like you're Jennifer Aniston and this girl like works at the Wawa down the street. Like, what do you mean, who is she? You made her open her hair salon so you could do your hair that day, and she can't even come in the little VIP roped off area. Like, who gives a shit? The place looked like a dump hole anyway that they were in. I told you, I on my other episode, I looked it up, and it's like this like place that they have like concerts and stuff in. It's like they weren't at the Ritz-Carlton, honey. So it's like, I don't know why it was beneath you to have your hairdresser in the VIP area with you. Like, I'm sure like Teresa, she's very close with her makeup artist, Priscilla. I'm sure she brings her along everywhere and like brings her in the VIP. She's probably like, it's one human body standing here. Like, who freaking cares? But I didn't like that Danielle's like, who even is she? But definitely do agree with Danielle that they shouldn't be getting like Lena's side over Danielle, and especially on camera, honestly. But then she also goes in. That's why I'm starting to like Danielle because she's just at least taking the reins. Her and Rachel are really stepping it up this season, especially at this bougie brunch while they are all together. Danielle said, also, like last season, did you two set me up with the rumor? And then like Melissa is sitting right across from her and like, how awkward and heart palpitating do you think Melissa is right now? Like, she's probably like, just keep the drinks coming, bitch. Like, I saw her sipping on her little pink Cosmo. She's probably like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable and terrible for me. And now they're going to bring this up. Like, it's bad enough. She's got to sit there. Just think, Teresa is I'm sorry. She is married to Teresa's brother and they don't even see and speak to each other anymore. And they got to be in this quaint small room at this little table. And now they're literally talking up the whole thing of last season with the rumor about Melissa, and Danielle's talking right to Teresa and Jennifer about it. And she's probably like, oh my God, just Lord, give me strength. Dear Jesus, as she would say, thank you, Jesus. Just get me out of here in one piece and don't have me and Teresa conversate honestly. But of course, Teresa is not going to have it with Danielle. And just like she didn't back in the day. And she's like, oh, you're thinking I set you up? She's like, no, don't do this right here. You're going to do this right here. So I feel like Teresa in her brain is already writing Danielle off. So good thing Danielle's getting along with Melissa. and Rachel because Teresa has already crossed you off in her brain. And Jennifer Aiden is like, "No, we didn't set you up." But they totally did. I mean, they used Danielle just like I'm telling you back in the day that Teresa used to use these people, as Jacqueline referred to them, Teresa's soldiers. She used them to do her dirty work so she could say, "Oh, well, I didn't call you a stripper. This other girl did instead, not me." And then Melissa is starting to get the weird vibes from Jackie. So Jackie starts chiming in. And then Jackie's like, I am going to be friends with whoever I want to be with. And I am not going to let anyone tell me otherwise. And then Melissa's like, you can say whatever you want, Jackie, but don't act like you weren't hurt by what Teresa did to you. And she's being honest, like Melissa, because I'm telling you, Melissa was her friend and she was very close to Jackie. So she saw how devastating it was for Jackie. And Jackie said it even like affected her eating disorder even more. And Melissa's probably like, literally, what the shit happened to your brain that you want to be friends with Teresa? So it's like putting like aside anything that Teresa ever did to Melissa, she's actually hurt you, Jackie. So why would you want to be friends with her? So Melissa's probably like, I just don't get this delusion. And then Jackie's getting pissed. And then she's like, "Don't do that, Melissa. Don't. I can do whatever I want." It's like, "Yeah, girl, you can do whatever you want, but like no one understands why." And we're all questioning your loyalty. I would. Like Melissa's probably like, "Wow, never did anything to Jackie." Even though I do have a feeling, I bet as soon as Jackie wasn't on the show anymore, that Melissa didn't really want to hang out with her. That's kind of my vibe. So maybe you know, Jackie has a point to be upset with Melissa, but still don't get why she's going to like backtrack and be friends with Teresa. Cause it's like, you're not upset with what Teresa did to you. But that's what I mean. If she's got to clasp onto somebody to be on the show. But Danielle then says in her annoying voice, though, but she has a point, but she's delivered it so annoying, like how she laid on her kitchen floor earlier in the episode. She's like, I just gotta say, I love you. And she points to Teresa, and Teresa's like thinking, like, well, I don't love you anymore, bitch, because you're like accusing me of setting you up with my sister-in-law. And I'm not having that. Been on this show long enough being told that. And she's like, but this is comical to me. And she's pointing to Teresa and Jackie. And Melissa's like, yes, thank you. And everyone's probably thinking, like, yes, thank you. I would have loved for Margaret to be at this lunch. That would have been real good if she was there, because definitely would have been like, you both are crazy that you even are going to fake to be friends after all the stuff you've said about each other and done to each other. And it is so bizarre after everything that's happened, especially the whole Evan cheating rumor. So Teresa is like, she thinks just because she didn't maybe make up the rumor and she heard it from people, that by repeating it isn't that bad. She's like, well, I wasn't the originator of the rumor, so you can't be mad at me for repeating it. Just repeating it is giving it life, and repeating it means you like believe it. Like instead you should say, listen, do you know what like this ridiculous false rumor is? Like that Evan's like cheating on Jackie. Can you believe that? That's like so stupid. So you are saying the rumor, but you're saying it's like a joke, or kind of like the Melissa kissing a guy. Can you believe this stupid rumor that like Teresa blames that it comes from Margaret, and Margaret's friend Laura like said that to Teresa and Jennifer Aiden, and that's how it even started. They told Danielle that that's what they found out, and that Laura, isn't friends with Margaret anymore, and she said that. But I don't I don't really know if I can believe that, because it's like Laura, I think, was mad that she didn't get on the show. So she's like, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna like make life living hell for Margaret," but that's pretty shitty. Like, I don't know if Margaret really said that to this friend. And then I don't know, because I do feel like her and Melissa are close. And I don't think if Melissa even believed for a second that Margaret would say that she would like even want to hang out with Margaret. I don't know. All these people, sometimes I'm like, who the heck knows what you're saying behind each other's back at this point? I would love to hear everything that Jackie ever said behind Teresa's back and vice versa. But yeah, I think it's very bizarre. And I'm glad Danielle pointed out and said something. And I am glad that Melissa chimed in and said that. Like, you do whatever you want right now, Jackie, but like, don't act like we're crazy and we should just jump on the bandwagon of you guys being friends. But then Rachel and Teresa get into it, and I'm gonna have to play a little clip of them getting into it because she just dives right in. So after Danielle had her way with Teresa, Rachel was like, I'm just gonna get right into it too. And she's asking Teresa why, she's calling John a drug dealer because she hasn't seen Teresa since this whole debacle. So then when it starts exploding, this is what was said.
My husband has built a life for himself, for him and his family. What the have you done, you stupid bitch? You went to prison as a grown-ass woman, and what have you done?
Oh, that's unnecessary. My husband has made plenty of mistakes in his youth. She's made stupid-ass decisions as a grown-ass adult. That's embarrassing.
She's young and stupid. I'm not doing this. Old and stupid, you bitch has been. This isn't going in.
Oh my God. When she called her first she called her a effing stupid bitch right at the beginning. And I was like, oh, that's not going anywhere good. But then when she called her a old bitch has been, I was like, oh my God. I wouldn't call her a has been. I mean, you can call her a stupid bitch, and she could call her old because Teresa is a lot older than Rachel. Rachel is the same age as me. And so she's 33, and I think Teresa is like 54. So for sure, she could, I guess, call her old. But I wouldn't call her a has-been because that has-been was the OG of this show, and the show is only kind of existing because she was on it. So I wouldn't really call her a has-been. And a has-been means you're not on the show anymore. So can't fully call her a has-been any longer. But I think everything that Rachel did say to Teresa was like, made sense because I think it's just sometimes crazy that Teresa thinks like, oh, like, look at you and look at your life. It's like, girl, you went to jail. Then your husband went to jail. And now you're divorced and he can't even come back in the country. But you're going to like judge John Fuda for what he did when he was in his youth. Like you signed these papers like in your adult life. And she says she didn't know anything, but sometimes now I even wonder, like, no, but did you know? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I really do think Joe gave her papers to like sign, and she's just like, oh, okay, whatever, Joe. Okay. I can't read these whole 30-page documents. I trust you. I do think she trusted him. But then when they had a chance for her, because like at first I think she wasn't going to serve time. And then when they had to report stuff like their belongings, she lied. So it's like that's kind of really ultimately why she went to prison. Like, why were you lying when you were reporting your stuff? When you had kinda like a second chance. So, I don't know, and I think Louis is shady. I can't put my finger on him. I do sometimes think though, like, I don't hope and think that she'd be that dumb to be with someone shady again, and I don't think the daughters would be so receptive to him if he was shady, but I don't know. He's just like a weird, weird dude, and I would prefer to not have him on like, if we had to pick Teresa and Louis versus Melissa and Joe to stay on the show, I like to see Joe Gorga. So I would like them to stay versus Teresa. And I would miss Teresa and I would miss seeing the daughters. And it would be sad because if she did ever leave or get fired, she is one of two remaining OGs in the whole Housewives franchise, along with Kyle Richards. So all we'd have left is Kyle Richards. And that would be sad, but I don't really know how we move forward. I mean, the whole lunch too, like Melissa's face is just like rolling her eyes and she's like, can't talk to Teresa because God forbid she would even talk. And Teresa just looks so miserable to be there. Like I said at the beginning, you can tell she's clocked out. She left early. She's like, I gotta leave. Like as soon as she gets in hot water with Rachel and they're yelling at each other. Um, He's like, I gotta leave. My daughter has a soccer game. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm sure. Saved by the bell, saved by the daughter. And she's leaving and she's like kissing Dolores and they are like when she walks by. And then as soon as she walks behind Melissa's chair, she just like turns her head and doesn't do anything. And then in Melissa's confessional is like, "See ya, ciao, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out." And it's like, yeah, Melissa's staying for the end, and I'm sure she says that to Bravo. I'm sure she says, "You know what? If there has to be a change, just make sure you remember, I get along with everyone, and I don't refuse to do things." She's the one that's difficult, and I'm sure Teresa bitches at them like, "I don't wanna sit in a room with my brother and sister-in-law and blah, 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 and why should I have to do this and blah, blah, blah." It's like, well, you have to do this because you're on the show, and I don't know. It's really sad that they can't come to an agreement for the families. It's really sad. And now it's like not only has it affected their personal life, it's affecting their work life. Like the reunion is canceled. And I think it's because of stuff like this. And I don't know. We don't need to see the two random friends ever again of Danielle. I don't care. I mean, the fact that they are quote unquote friends of the season and they like barely have talked the whole season. It's like, why are we even having them be friends of? Like, don't cut the budget for them. Who cares? I mean, we got no cast trip because the house burnt down in the Berkshires. And that had to be almost like a sign. Like Melissa was probably like, this is a sign from God. Thank you, Jesus. Like that I didn't have to stay with her. Because how weird would that have been? So this lunch is weird enough, but then Melissa's probably thinking, like, dear God, later in the season, I gotta freaking share a house with Teresa. I wonder if she would have tried to do resolution. I really don't think so. We do know later in the season that Joe and Melissa are gonna have their housewarming at their new house, and they didn't invite Teresa, but Teresa sent a bottle of alcohol with John Fuda and Rachel Fuda, which I find weird because they hate them. And John Fuda does bring the bottle of alcohol. Joe, like, doesn't want it. I don't know if he throws it out. He doesn't accept it. So Teresa was reaching the olive branch, but Joe is putting his foot down. I think he's tired of the olive branches and tired of being hurt. So I don't blame him. But see, there's Teresa has two things to hold over their head. You didn't come to my wedding, so I'm done with you. And then, oh, Joe, I sent you a bottle of Johnny Walker and you sent it back. So that's insulting. But it's like, why are you sending a bottle if you don't wanna have, like, a relationship with him? Because she's the one on the reunion that was like, "Never gonna have to see your face again," and it's like, "But then you're sending a bottle of alcohol? That means, like, doors open." It was like when she sat down with Kathy and Rosie, with Joe Gorga, and she's like, "I wanna cut the cancer out," and then Kathy's like, "Well, we're not cancer," and then she's like, "Well, my" Kathy was like, "Well, the door is always open, and then, like, if you ever need anything," and Teresa's like, "Yeah, me too." Well, that's not cutting someone out, and Jacqueline even said to her, like, "I think you kinda left it like the door's open, come over and hang out." And it's like Teresa's like, "No, she knew what I was saying." And it's like, "No, not really. You should have been like, no, my door is padlocked with 9 locks on it. You can't come in." Like, I do wonder if when their dad passed away, if they came to the funeral. It was during, like, COVID, so I don't really know if, like, I don't know. And then I do wonder if they came to the mom's funeral because she had the cut the cancer out conversation before her mom died. So, and the dad was still living. So I'm wondering if, like, Rosie, Kathy, Richie, and their mom came to Joe and Teresa's mom's funeral and see the dad because Kathy and Rosie's mom was siblings with Joe and Teresa's dad, and they didn't talk anymore, and I feel like that's what put the strain on Teresa with, like, them. I mean, it's just, like, crazy. It's like none of them talk to each other, and I know we all have family members that, like, if it's just not working or as she says, "It's cancerous, I need to cut the cancer out." I get it, but it's, like, just crazy that it's like Teresa doesn't talk to anyone. And look at Melissa, she's got a big family and she talks to everybody. So it's like, Teresa, I think you're kind of like the problem. Like you're the one like don't want to talk to your cousins, don't want to talk to your brother. It's like, what's going on? Like, I don't really think she talks to Joe's family. Maybe she fakely does now just because she doesn't talk to her own family, but I don't know. I mean, Like I said, I don't know how we're going to move forward, but I really feel like it's going to have to be. They're going to have to eliminate Teresa. So they weren't going to film this summer anyway, even before the reunion was canceled. They were going to do fall because I feel like they were going to like take a beat and think about what they were going to do. Let alone, I think they want to give us a Jersey Thanksgiving and Christmas, which I appreciate. You know, I have been asking for the Jersey holidays again. I need my sprinkle cookies. And I like seeing them do the holidays, and you know they do it nice over there. But I don't know. I'm going to keep my eyes and ears open to see like what they're going to be doing moving forward, or I don't know. It's kind of weird right now. Teresa is in Paris and Joe and Melissa and their kids were in Paris, but now they're in Italy. But it's so funny that they're kind of like all there at the same time. It's just so weird. Like that, can you imagine if they were in Paris and like saw each other? I don't know. That'd be weird. Then we all need to hop over. I feel like we need to get cameras in the Bahamas. They should have done cameras when Jennifer Aiden and Teresa and Louie and all of them are over there for New Year's. Like, do like a little New Year's Eve special. I don't know. I think it would be so funny if they would have done like a cast trip to visit like Joe in the Bahamas. Like, let's say like everyone got along. That would have been so funny. Like, hey, what are you going to do about it? I'm in the Bahamas now, huh? I can't come back to the United States. I'm here. What are you going to do? Like, that would have been really funny, I think. But very curious how the rest of the season is going to play out. In a couple weeks, I'm very excited. My husband and I are going to a dinner with Melissa and Joe. So I told him he has to come on and we're going to do like a special bonus episode and talk all about that when that is over. So I told my husband he has to buy Joe a shot because he said anytime people buy him a shot, he's going to do it. So trying to think what shot we should buy him. If we could just do like vodka or tequila, or I was like, he does like the Johnny Walker. That's what his dad always drank. Or probably he'd like a nice like Sambuca. So we will have a special bonus episode dedicated to just talking about that. And I'll get Mike back on. Maybe we'll make it like a happy hour episode and we'll have like drinks while we do it. That's fun. That's what we did on our last one. But yeah, I don't know. Jersey has the lowest ratings it said they ever had ever in the history. And it's partly because we're watching 2 different shows. It's hard, and it's like the same conflict over and over again, getting a little burned out with it, even though this lunch was crazy. Um, I don't know. We need to move forward. We need to move past it. We need to change it up, and it's not gonna be with Danielle's 2 friends, though, I'll tell you that. As always, this was so fun, and you could find me on Instagram at Bravo T with the Stay at Home Mom, Spotify, and Apple. Till next time, see ya.